Hello again, and welcome back to the QX Mini online training. The third and final module will be an overview of the MGC ECS configurator and simple programming examples. Across the top of the configurator, we have a toolbar which includes functions such as New and Open Job, Panel Inputs and Reports, an audio editor, Connect, Send Job and Firmware Upgrade Selection, and finally, Config Update, Tutorial, About Configurator, and Exit. Across the right side of the screen, we have a scrolling library to select booster panels and accessories to drag and drop into the job file. Along the left-hand side, we have a series of windows that can aid you in the configuration process. Let's start out by creating a new job. Moving your cursor to the top left-hand corner of the configurator, select New Job. A new job window will appear. At the top of the window, you'll have a tag where you will add a job name. You also have the option to change password from the default 3333 to something of your choosing, up to a total of 22 characters. Moving on, we have a paging inhibit delay, which goes up in increments of 10, and will delay the ability for someone to use the microphone or microphones for the set duration. If you wish not to use it, leave it set at 0. You also have the ability to choose whether the inter-panel wiring is wired in Class A or Class B. This is for the RS-45 wiring between the master and booster panels. You can add comments to the job file. Some people like to add the date, or note any changes that have been made to the job if it has already been sent to the panel. In the new job window, you also have the ability to choose if you are going to use the SLC connection or not. Once you are done with this selection, you can click on the OK button located at the top right of the new job window. Now that we have a new job open, let's move on to the drag and drop interface. Starting with the booster panel, hover your cursor over the booster in the scrolling library on the right side of the screen. Left click and drag the booster onto the screen. Once you see the addition symbol on your cursor, you can release the left mouse button and the booster will be added to the job file. To add in a remote microphone, drag and drop the R mic over to the master panel. The addition symbol should appear, and drop the remote mic into the panel. The same goes for the LOC, Local Operating Console. Drag and drop the LOC onto the master panel. If your job requires more amplifiers, or you would like to add speakers and strobes to the panels, you'll have to open the door to the master panel and booster panels. You can do this by one of two ways. Hover your cursor over the door of the master panel or booster panel and right-click and select Open Panel Door. The other method is to hover your cursor over the door, left-click and swipe left. Now that the door to the master and booster panels are open, you can see the inside of the panel. Both the master panel and booster panel come with a Quad 30 digital amplifier installed in the center position. If your job calls for more amplifiers, simply drag and drop the amplifier from the scrolling library onto the main PCB. An Edit Amplifier window will appear where you can give the amplifier a name and choose if you would like the amplifier to operate in 25 or 70 volts. Choose your voltage and click on OK. Amplifiers can also be added by simply left-clicking on the PCB board and select Add Secondary Amplifier and click on OK to continue. You can also drag and drop speakers and strobes onto their respective circuits using the drag and drop function. This is a great interactive tool that can help you validate correlations made, which we'll go over later. You can add more speakers and strobes to the circuit by drag and drop method, or if you would like to add multiple devices, you can right-click on the last speaker or strobe on the circuit and select the quantity you wish to add and click on Add Multiple button. When you wish to close the panel doors, you can either left-click on the door and drag right, or right-click on the door and select Close Panel Door. On the main display, you have 12 switches that can be used for either output zone selection or messages and/or tone selection. If your job requires more than 12 programmable switches, you can add in an additional 24 switches by dragging QAZT5302DS onto the QX Mini master display. The QAZT5302DS will populate on the QX Mini master panel, and if you have any LOCs or local operating consoles in the job file, it will populate there as well. Adding an output zone is quite easy. Simply navigate to the left-hand side of the configurator, and in the blank space under Zones, right-click and select Create Zone. Tag the zone something that makes sense for your job. While we're here, let's create a few more. The zones are now created, but what are they turning on? At this point, nothing. We now have to correlate what speaker and strobe outputs we would like to turn on for each of the output zones. Right-click on one of the zones and choose Add Correlations. A zone dialog window will appear where you can change or edit the tag for the output zone, but for now we will leave it. As you can see, there is nothing correlated to the output zone at this time. To add output circuits, click on Add. The next window will appear showing you a list of the current output circuits you have available in your job. For Zone 1, let's choose NAC1 and the 2 amplifier circuits on the first amplifier in the master panel. Once chosen, click on OK, and then OK again to finish the correlation. Under the Zones window, you can now see what has been correlated to that output zone. Let's add correlations to the other 2 outputs. Now that we have added correlations to the output zones, we can now assign a switch for each of the zones on the master panel. You can do this by right-clicking on the zone and selecting Assign to Switch. Or if you prefer, you can simply drag and drop the output zone onto the switch on the master panel. Earlier I mentioned a great tool to validate your correlations for each of the output zones you created. You can test this out by right-clicking on the zone in the Zone toolbar and select Activate Zone. Whatever speaker and strobe circuit you have correlated to that output zone will turn on. To turn off, simply right-click on the zone again and select Deactivate Zone. You can also click on the switch you assigned to the zone to turn on and off the output circuits the zone has been correlated. Our next step would be to add in some audio messages and tones. Navigate and click on the Edit Audio button in the toolbar. The Edit Audio window will appear. On the left, you will see an audio info, which includes the number of messages you currently have and the total audio clips you have programmed in your job file. It will also show you the total memory that you have available for your messages and tones, as well as the memory currently being used. At the bottom of the window, you will see a graphical representation and percentage of the memory being used in the job file. A new job will have one evacuation message preloaded. If you wish to add more messages or tones, simply click on the Add button in the top right-hand corner of the window. On the left side of the window, you have the Audio Clips section. In this section, you have a list of preloaded audio clips that can be moved over to the Message Composition area by highlighting the clip and clicking on the Move button in the center of the window. A message can be a combination of one or more clips. When using multiple clips, you can repeat the clip a number of times before moving on to the next clip. If you want to change the order of the clips to play, simply click on the clip you wish to move and click on the up and down arrow. In the Audio Clips section of the window, we also have the ability to import an audio file saved somewhere on your computer. You also have the ability to record an audio clip using a mic input. And last but not least, you have the ability to use a text-to-speech driver. For importing an audio file, click on Import and navigate to the location on your computer that the message resides. For the Record option, select Record. Choose the input device that you are going to record with and select Record. Once you have finished with your voice recording, you can select Stop, then Save. If you scroll down to the bottom of the clip selection, your recorded file will be available. If you wish to rename this file, or rename any file for that matter, click to highlight the file you wish to rename and choose Rename. You can also play the selected clip or delete the selected clip with the Play and Delete clip buttons. For the text-to-speech, click on Text-to-Speech button. the text-to-speech window will appear, at which point you can give the audio file a tag. Directly underneath the tag is where you will compose your text-to-speech sentence. Once you have created your text-to-speech sentence, you can change the speed and the pitch of the message in the parameter section. You will want to play the message to make sure that it is to your liking before you click on Create. Please remember that the text-to-speech engine is phonetic. Once you have composed your message, you can give it a tag name. Choose the stage that you wish it to be in. For now, we will leave it at manual. Choose if you would like the whole message to repeat a number of times before turning off, or if you would like the message to play until turned off manually, click on Repeat Forever. Once you are happy with your message, you can select Create. If you wish to create more messages or tones, simply repeat the process. Once you are done, you can click on Close. Now that we have an audio message, we can add it to a selector switch. Click on the Audio Message tab beside Zones and drag and drop each of the messages to the respective selector switch on the main display, or display adder. One more feature that the MGC ECS configurator has that the traditional Maricom configurators do not is an undo feature. There is no back or undo button, but at the bottom left of your configurator, there is a command history of the job file that you are currently working on. Any change at all is recorded. If you wish to undo the last 3 commands, simply click on the command history point you wish to go back to. If you are going to be connecting a QX Mini to a UL or ULC listed fire alarm panel via relays, or you're going to be connecting to a compatible Maricom fire alarm panel via the SLC loop, you'll have to utilize the panel inputs so that when an input is activated, an output zone is turned on, as well as a message or tone. Since there are 2 different methods of using the inputs, I will create a simple job for each. When connecting to a UL or ULC listed fire alarm panel, you'll want to create a job with an SLC type of none. Let us quickly create some messages, output zones, and correlations for the job file. Now that we have some messages and output zones, let us move on to the inputs. Select Panel Inputs from the toolbar. Click on the addition symbol to add an input. Select the panel input you wish to use from the dropdown. You'll notice, since we are not connected to a compatible Maricom fire alarm panel, that we only have 4 choices to choose from. Select your input Relay 1. Select your output zone you wish to turn on from the zone dropdown. And finally, choose what message or tone you wish to play over the speaker circuits. Now for adding input zones when connecting a compatible Maricom fire alarm panel via the SLC loop to the QX Mini audio system. You can start off by creating a new job, add a job tag or job name, and in the SLC type section, select Maricom, then choose OK. Like the previous job, I will quickly add in some output zones, correlations, and messages. Once we have our output zones and messages set, we can select panel inputs from the toolbar. Much like the previous job, you can start to add inputs. There is one difference though. If you click on the panel input dropdown, you'll notice you still have the 2 relay and 2 sync inputs, but you also have module addresses 101 through 199. These are all of the module addresses available on the compatible Mercom fire alarm panel SLC loop. You now have many more options to choose from to operate different zones and messages or tones on the QX Mini. With both methods, you can also pick the priority of the input by selecting the panel input you wish to move, and move it up and down in priority using the arrows. Once you have finished with your input correlations, click on the OK button at the bottom right-hand corner of the window. When connecting to an SLC loop of a compatible Mercom fire alarm panel, you can also program addresses to monitor different points of the QX Mini system. For this, you can select Edit Job, choose the panel you wish to edit, and click on Edit. The panel wizard will appear, at which point you can hit Next twice, and this will bring you to the reporting section of the panel. You can choose to turn on monitoring for common trouble, AC trouble, signal silence, battery trouble, paging active, and ground fault. For the troubles you wish to report over the SLC loop, simply click on the drop-down and select the module address from 101 to 199. If you have already used some addresses for the panel inputs, they will not be available in the drop-down. Once you have chosen the address for the troubles you wish to report on the fire alarm panel via the SLC loop, you can then click on Finish in the panel wizard window, and then OK to close down the job edit window. Just a quick note that if you are looking to program the compatible Mercom fire alarm panel, you can simply click on Report and get a PDF copy of the input and output correlations programmed on the QX Mini. The report window is also a great tool if you need to print out labels for the QX Mini main display or their local operating console display. Once you have completed programming your job, you can connect to the QX Mini master panel using a USB A to B cable. Click on the Connect icon in the toolbar, select your COM port. You can then click on Send Job, and both the job file and audio files will be sent to the panel. Please note that if you have booster panels, you'll have to connect directly to each of the booster panels and send the job. Thank you for taking the time to do our QX Mini online training. Please proceed to take the final QX Mini online test. Once you obtain an 80% or greater on the test, the MGC ECS configuration software will become available for download. Once you download and install the MGC ECS configurator, you may want to take the tutorial inside the configurator, which will take you through some more features not covered in these modules.